Fresh is the word.
I'm Jim Duggan, got long wood for plenty hoes. I keep it fresher than fresh, but you already know. You suckers bummy, I'm money, I got a ton of flows. My weed loud like a motherfucking thunder roll. Your shit quiet like you ballin' on a budget though. We see your kicks and we laugh and yellin' what are those. You see me shining like a suit on puffy. You know my grind and shit is too strong, buddy. That's why the dude call money. I be stuntin' like it's nothing at all, cause it's nothing to me. It's probably something to y'all. Trying to smoke like me, then come and fuck with your dog. Got a closet full of kicks, you can't cop it them all. And I'm fresher than the freshest, you can tell it's in my essence. Bitch, you see the way I'm rapping, yes I do this shit to death. I tell I'm running out of breath, I tell somebody cut a check. But either way you know it's fresh, and either way you know it's fresh. Fresh, we fresh. Fresh, goddammit, we fresh.
Welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast, the podcast about music, pro wrestling, and MMA. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. Thank you for everything. I just want to start things off with that. We had another 2-week hiatus. I'm sorry about that again. 1 week my computer went down, and then the other week I just had issues with my ears, a lot of earwax build up. Me and V-Styles talk about it in our segment later on, so I'm not going to bore you with all those details twice in a podcast. But I'm back. I can hear better than ever, and got some great things lined up for the podcast from here on out. We got definitely a cool-ass guest tonight. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you of some friends of mine who do some really cool things in Detroit that are very music and wrestling oriented. If you ever need some any screen printing done, go to Undeniable Press. You can reach them at facebook.com/undeniable.press. And if you ever need some t-shirts or I guess some posters or whatever, they'll help you out. They'll hook you up. If you're in Detroit, they're located in the Corktown district of Detroit. They'll hook you up with some cool gear. They'll be able to press up your t-shirts if you're a wrestler or a band or music artist or anything. If you need t-shirts or any other things that are kind of around that, hit them up on their Facebook and they'll be able to hook you up. And also those same guys, they also run a clothing line called 20 by 20, and it's a wrestling themed clothing line. They have a lot of cool wrestling t-shirts themed by things of mostly the past, So if you want to check out their line, you can go to their website, which is 20x20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20, then apparel.com. And they have so much cool shit on there. Definitely pick up one of those t-shirts and support some homies of mine. All right, and if you want to help support the podcast, you can always go to freshasthepodcast.com and just share anything that's on any of the links or anything on there. That'd be great. There's a link on there that says support the podcast with a PayPal link you can donate to. And then there's also an Amazon link. If you ever do any Amazon shopping, use that link. It doesn't change anything on your end. They'll just shoot some commission my way. That'd be great. If you want to follow us online, you can go to on Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/freshasthepodcast. Give us a like, post a message. I don't care. Share the page. Just do something to spread the word. That'd be awesome. Also on Twitter and Instagram, we're at fresh is the word 1. That's fresh is the word number 1. And give us a follow, retweet stuff, repost stuff. I don't care. Just spread the word. That would be very, 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 very positive. And you can also subscribe to the podcast on both iTunes and Stitcher. Just search Fresh is the Word and hit that subscribe button. And please, if you like the podcast, go ahead and give us a rating, preferably 5. And then, shoot us a comment on there, a rating, a recommendation, or whatever, man. Just, spread the word, man. If you're listening to this, spread the word in some way. It will help out the podcast because we got some cool shit coming on. Some cool shit. And for this week's guest is someone that I talked to originally back in December, but I got hit him up again for another conversation. It's David Gunn, the lead singer of the Flint-based metal band King 810. When I first interviewed him, it was for a piece on Huffington Post, and it was down at St. Andrews during one of their shows. They had this string of I think 4 shows. There were more than just concerts. They were just like more of a concert meets an art installation and whatnot. Their Chicago show had already been canceled due to pressure from the city, due to the violent imagery in their music. But then the Detroit show ended up getting canceled because there were some issues in regards to members of the band and their entourage were packing, guns and everything. They were fully licensed and everything, but they, the venue didn't want them to bring those guns, so there was a butting of heads in regards to civil rights and whatnot, and they ended up canceling the show. David has put out a statement online on their website or on their Facebook in regards to why, and we kind of go back into it again because I was down there in the thick of things when it was happening. It felt kind of weird because when I got down there at 1 p.m. in the afternoon, I got patted down like I was going to a gangster rap concert. So we talk about that. We extend on it, a couple months removed. But then also David Gunn is a MMA fighter. He's had two amateur fights thus far, and he's 2-0. The last one being at Legacy Fighting Alliance's LFA 2 event recently. And so we get into to his MMA career and how mixed martial arts has helped him both within his music life and his real life, some of the hardships that intertwined in all that. And it was a really awesome conversation. Then we also talk about, he likes to post the books that he's reading, some of the books that he's reading on his Instagram. So we kind of get into what some of these books are about. So that was very fascinating. Please listen to this whole conversation as a whole. It's really interesting. David Gunn is he can be a little intimidating, from the outside looking in, but he's a really cool cat, very knowledgeable, very interesting, and he's one of my favorite people to actually talk to because I always get something out of it. So let's get into this interview with David Gunn of King 810. Last time we talked was down at St. Andrews back in December, before the King 810 show there. Like once I got down there, it was like 1 in the afternoon. I get down there, I automatically thought there was something weird when I was getting like viciously patted down by the security there.
Right.
It was crazy. I'm like, what's going on here? I'm like, it's 1 in the afternoon, man, and I'm getting patted down like I'm going to a gangster rap show or something,
Yeah, that's welcome to it,
Yeah, so it was crazy. So I knew I was kind of like in the thick of things already, because at that point your Chicago date had already been canceled due to the city not liking the violent imagery of your show, which was this big sort of like art installation, not just your regular concert. But I knew something was going down. You guys were talking about a lot of things. And I just rewatched the statement that you put out afterwards during that time. Looking back, at that time, how do you feel about that whole situation a couple months removed?
The same way, I guess. I don't have any kind of changed attitude for it. I don't regret any decision that we made. I'm not upset about the way things turned out. I mean, it wasn't surprising or anything. We understood what we were doing. We did it. So I still feel the same way I did about it then. I do definitely want to get back into a room somewhere around, in Michigan to, kind of make it up to everyone and show up and do what we wanted to do. But, it was kind of, I felt like it was, I should have said something, in response to cancel it, because we're not very big on canceling, even though it seems kind of funny to say because a lot of our stuff gets canceled more than the typical person. But I feel like I have to always say, we're not running around just canceling for fun, things like this, But you most of the time, you can't always get the whole story or get the whole rundown out there for everyone. You know what I mean? A lot of people will just get a piece here and a piece there, or get these broad statements or these generalized kinds of thoughts and things. So I didn't feel like it was necessary to really dive into details about the strange whole strange thing with the posturing and weird things that were happening.
At this point, do you think there's anything that you can do ahead of time to maybe assure that these shows go on and that there might and that they won't get canceled at all? I know there's going to be times when things come up, but do you think there's anything more that you can do?
Yeah, we try to do it, all these kinds of things ahead of time, and they usually go all right. We've never had any many big deals like this. I mean, I can't think of any actually, and it's usually it's pretty smooth. We've missed a couple of shows. Once in the past, we were arrested going through customs in Detroit, and a couple things like that were obvious beforehand that we couldn't make it. But really, it's just a part of things, and we do try to make sure ahead of time. In this case, particularly, we were fine ahead of time, and they kind of dropped this knowledge on us the day before that there would be this all this stuff going on with the extensive security measures, unusual security.
Yeah.
And but we wrote it off, because a lot of people say a lot of things, and you kind of just are like, yeah, whatever, man. We've heard that, everywhere we go, and plus on top of that, we figure, well, there's no security measures above the law, so we'll be fine. And so we showed up, and that's how it turned out, And it's like I said in the statement, it's just one of those stupid things where, it's not by any means illegal to do what we did. There's just a little trespassing loophole that doesn't have anything to do with weapons or of any kind. You know what I mean? Where if you're on private property, they can say you're trespassing, and it's not necessarily, it doesn't have anything to do with a gun or anything. You know what I mean? And a lot of people kind of don't understand it because it's, whatever. But to answer your question and summarize it, I guess, is we try to go through everything that we know how to go, try to, even from this incident here, get another preemptive kind of measure formulated and added to the process when we're putting these things together. And we've done, I can't remember the number, but hundreds of shows without incident. You know what I mean? It's never been an issue. So we just keep adding to the little appendix that is the checklist that we have to go through to do shows.
In regards to the Detroit show, did they ever give you guys an official, specific reason why they're giving you guys so much trouble? Was it the trespassing thing?
No, it was just it was a personal thing. It was just this is what they chose to do, and we were who they kind of chose to do it to. It was real arbitrary. It's not customary. It's not typical. It's not, that's not usual. It's not even what happens at, hip hop and rap shows. They don't tear all that stuff apart like that. So it was kind of a singling out kind of thing. And then there was a kind of butting heads, and then there was some, like I said, some posturing going on. And that was kind of what started rubbing us the wrong way. And it was kind of personal at the same time.
Yeah.
For example, if we go over to Europe or the UK or Australia or wherever, clearly there's not a weapons issues over there. We don't have them, and it's one of those things where, I mean, that's common sense kind of, and it's not an issue because that's not the issue, you know what I mean? But when you're 50 minutes from home, and me personally having been shot twice, been stabbed before, know a whole bunch of people in Detroit, and Flint, and that have, done a bunch of bullshit, the worst type of people you want to know. It was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, it's not going to go down like that here. You know what I mean? If we were in Kansas City, Missouri, or somewhere where, you know what I mean, 10 hours from home, or if we were overseas or somewhere like that, it would have been a lot different. But this one is kind of a personal kind of thing, where it wasn't an option for us,
Right, because I'm pretty sure that there's been many upon many rap shows that even gone down at St. Andrews, and it doesn't matter where the artist goes, they have bodyguards that are definitely packing. So is there any sort of difference between that and what you guys were doing?
There's no difference, no. Not at all. I mean, the people that we have on our team, are licensed to protect us and carry, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like, this kind of thing that we were, scheming. It was a legitimate thing. There are a couple of us, obviously, that can't have weapons, but for that we have a handful of people that are licensed, that are there, to protect. And they're part of our crew, you know what I mean? The people that we've grown up with and that kept around us our whole lives. They're there, and they're working and they're doing this, but they also have that, kind of thing that comes with them. So like I said, we've done hundreds of shows, traveled around the whole United States. It's never been an issue. We, have the same kind of measures, everywhere we go. And it was just it was one of those arbitrary little things that you kind of felt like, a little weird about it. So
right. After all this happened, what's next for the band? Are you guys working on anything right now? What's the future have, in store for King 810?
Right now we're working on putting together a handful of dates in the U.S. here, and we're working on some material that don't really want to dive into because it's kind of still really infantile. And then we have we're going to the UK for a festival called Bloodstock in August for a few days. And other than that, just same old thing, kind of writing, recording, trying to put a handful of shows together, just trying to, I guess, do it right. That's the biggest issue with a group like us. The way that we do things is we don't do things just to do them. You know what I mean? A lot of groups will go hit the road for 11 months out of the year, or do that for 2 years and put a record out and do another kind of a clockwork or whatever works, or like a standardized kind of formula. But we don't look at the clock or the calendar and let that dictate what we're supposed to be doing. We just do what we feel like doing, what feels right, and plan on making the moves that we want to move, regardless of timing or what you're typically supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah. After interviewing last, I noticed via your Instagram that you also train in MMA, and you've had a
Yeah.
couple of amateur fights thus far. When did you start training, and what practices are you trained in?
I started training about 10 years ago with my coach here in Flint when I was 20 or 21, and I had trained for a couple years, and I ended up getting shot in my neighborhood or whatever, and I kind of stopped training after a couple years because of it, mainly because I wasn't 100% confident in the way I felt, like my health or whatever, you know. I wasn't, I felt like, you know, I could have fought before, and I felt 100%. And then after getting shot, my thought process was, as a kid, you know, being young, well, there's no way I'm 100% now because I got a couple bullets in my legs and hip and shit. So I can't be the 100% that I was before. So I don't know if I should, you know, be fighting and stuff. So I continued to train, but yeah, I never had any plans to fight. And then this was all before we were all together playing music, obviously, but same group, but we hadn't got a deal or put out a record or went on tours or whatever. So then we would do all that and go on these world tours for a few years. And when we got home, we had planned on coming home for a few to write and record and take it off, because we had been on the road for, I think, for 18 or 19 months. And so I thought, I should go back and train now that I'm off the road. And then I started, you know, thinking, even though I should have probably done this 10 or 11 years ago, I probably can't live with myself if I don't actually go fight, at least to go get it out of my system and kind of just do it, because
Right.
I probably should have done it back then, and I never got around to it, and I couldn't just, it was kind of like the time was up, you know. Plus my mind's, you know, kind of changed a little bit. Like my way of thinking, I realized when I learned more about health and things like that, the old way that I thought was ignorant and wrong. So, you know, age and things like this only play, or injuries and age and things like that only play the role that you let them play, really, you know.
Right. How are you able to get past that sort of time in your life after you got shot? You weren't 100%. To get back into training and to working out and whatnot. How are you able to get past all that specific time in your life?
I don't think I ever got past it. I think it kind of just added on. I think it just jumped in the boat with me, and it's still there. Which is why, getting back to the questions about, you know, the Detroit thing and all that, it's not ever not going to be there. You know what I mean? Because once you know you get shot and you're just laying in the road thinking that you're bleeding to death or something like that, because you don't know what's going on. You don't really walk down the road the same anymore, do any of that stuff. So I wasn't anxious to get back into training and all that stuff. I had I forget what it's called. I think it's brachial. I had been stabbed in the ribs, and I had a stab wound in my bicep that went in and almost nicked my artery, and also, like I said, a couple bullets in my legs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to train. I kind of wanted to just go shoot somebody. That was like what my life was. That was what I felt like I should be doing. And plus, I was 20. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I was doing that, and my focus kind of shifted, because I thought I was doing, you know, the right thing, but really I had kind of accepted defeat in saying that, you know, just a few little stab wounds or a little bullet or whatever can stop me from fighting or from doing what I wanted to do, even though I thought I was, focused and engaged and doing, set on doing whatever I wanted. I kind of like, looking back in hindsight, I was kind of defeated because I chose to let it, alter my course kind of. And it was like that for, I would say it was like that for at least a year. It wasn't 2 years, but it was
Right.
like that for at least a year. And I was writing a lot though. Even when I was laying there, I talk about in songs, laying there filling the tub up with blood. I was writing then like 15 minutes later. So that probably helped, and I changed my perspective in the way that I was thinking, the way I was living, and the way that things were going. So to get back into it, though, it took me a few years to get back into actually dropping back in and getting back into Muay Thai and getting back into Jiu-Jitsu. It took a few years, but it only took between 1 and 2 years to get back into the actual gym proper, and just to try to get the shape that I was in back, because I was in pretty good shape, and it was probably a culmination of things. I guess I can't name one thing that got me back into it. I found like rugby. I play that for Flint. Flint has a team, and other groups of people that were doing other things, I guess, that slowly kind of pulled me in the direction that I am now, just to go back to being a normal person, I guess, or go back to getting some kind of routine or habit of life.
Right.
Outside of bullshit,
Was there anything in your life at that time, after getting shot, sitting there bleeding out, almost dying, to where that thought you just mentioned about just going around shooting people, was there anything that like stopped you from just going out and shooting people?
Really, no, because that's all my friends were doing. I didn't know anyone that wasn't doing that, and no one really reached out and said, "Hey, man, don't do that." But like I said, there was a couple things rather than a couple role models. It wasn't really in people that I found it. It was more in other things like writing and reading, and even eventually training and getting back into fighting, and even things like yoga, or playing rugby, or rock climbing, or scuba diving, or parachuting. I just like to do things that are challenging, that you have to develop a certain skill set and things like that to be able to do them, and that kind of push your own kind of envelope, not like regular things where you wake up and use the bathroom and go to work and do that stuff,
Right.
Stuff that kind of pushes you.
And you also said that there's being shot is something that always kind of looms around you forever. Has training in martial arts in any way helped you cope with that time in your life at all?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a coping, or if it was just kind of had me in a better position. I feel like I was actually, when it happened, I was coming back from training, walking back home, and these dudes thought that I had something valuable because I had a training bag.
Right.
And that's how it started. So I was already warmed up from class, and it probably put me in a lot better position, because I was able to, fight back and kind of probably stop myself from just getting my head blown off. You know what I mean? Because I didn't just kind of sit there. You know what I mean? It was a fight, and that was kind of interesting, because I had already been warmed up and primed up from the training, so it kind of literally did help me cope with it in real time. But all that aside, I don't know if I really apply that right, give it that kind of credit to apply it right to doing so. I think, like I said, I just have this propensity to go towards those kinds of problem solvings that usually involve some kind of physical demand, and I think even that there's science behind that, but without diving into it, I would say that it's really just a complex system that I'm drawn to, and I like to try to figure out, even fighting, even just from being raised in the environment, in this environment, and seeing so many crazy things that people live their whole lives not actually getting a glimpse of. You don't have that freak out kinds of moments. So even being in the cage fighting and being in competitions and things like that, and even being on stage or whatever, you don't get the racing heart and the nerves and the anxiety, you know what I'm saying? Because when you see someone shot and killed, that's a little more exciting than, by definition, than being in a cage fight. You don't see people killed in the cage,
right?
So it does, in that way, cope, not so much as a mental, but almost like a physiological coping, where it would desensitize or numb some of your CNS, you know what I mean, to where it doesn't respond sporadically to things like violence or even, in a way, things like pain and discomfort and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Right. After all this, recently you finally entered the cage. Right now you have an amateur record of 2-0. Your last fight was a part of Legacy Fighting Alliance's LFA 2 event. LFA is a result of the recent merger of Legacy Fighting Championship and Resurrection. How did you end up getting a fight with on this card?
It was actually through my coach. He said, LFA's having an event in Minnesota here in a few months. Do you want to fight? They got a guy, a 205, or he's a cop. And I was like, hell yeah. So then I thought, in my mind, and I got probably, 30 friends incarcerated. And I'm just thinking, if I lose this, then I done lost in life. So I went, I would never live it down. It wasn't even an option to lose. I never thought for a second that there was a chance that I could even possibly lose. I went into, training 5-6 hours a day. And it was, and that was that. I showed up. The dude, he's really cool, real nice. And I never, like I said before, I think at a couple questions ago, I don't have like the animosity or the anger or anything. I don't get excited or out of control or emotional or happy or sad, which is good because I don't get out of control. But when something good happens, I don't really recognize it or get happy or in a good mood or anything. So I kind of just skate through and, showed up and fought and went a couple rounds. Pretty tough dude. But, like I said, I was never going to lose that one,
Definitely. Going into that fight with Alexander Brown, what was your game plan, and do you think you were able to successfully execute that game plan?
Yeah, I was going to stand and trade with him. Just the first guy to hit the mat was going to be the one. But and it was going back, not to repeat myself over and over again, but I don't really have a problem sticking to the game plan. My mind stays relatively clear, just as a condition, as a result of life. But I went in there and did what we said we were going to do. Stood there and traded for the whole first round, and then the second one, stood there and traded again. And it was basically like after trading for a few minutes, I was thinking, this guy's tough or whatever, but I had a sense that he was tiring quicker than I was. He was kind of clench fighting, and he was playing pretty close game, and he was, kind of trying to smother, trying to kind of get on the cage, pulling it on the cage, trying to control there, trying to, stay clenched up. And so then after I got that, and it was about 2 minutes into the second round, I realized this dude's kind of tired, kind of, more so than I am anyway. Maybe I should just, try to finish this. So he kept kind of locking up and clenching up, which is annoying to me. So I just took him down, got on the ground, and started controlling and punching from there and doing all that, which was working just fine. But as the round went on, I was thinking, I'll probably punch this guy enough. Let me, try to finish this. And he flipped over into a vulnerable kind of position, and so I just took the opportunity. You know what I mean? Just thrust choked him.
2 fights in already. What do you think your personal strengths are? Are you, submissions? Are you a good striker? What do you think your strengths are?
My number one strength, we always say in the gym, is that I can take several hard hits. That's my number one strength is my chin. There's me and another guy, one of my partners. That's our basically what we champion, being able to get hit in the face repeatedly, really hard, and not get knocked out. So that I don't run around thinking that I'm good or anything. I just think that I can take some hits. But I feel I'd rather stand and punch and fight, because to me that's what I prefer. I prefer to get knocked out or to knock the other person out. I don't like to I don't like to fight slow, I guess, is the question, because I don't want to make it seem like I don't like to grapple, because where I feel safest, most secure, and most content is grappling. And once we're on the ground, I don't feel in danger at all.
Right.
When we're standing up, I feel like, okay, I could get hit. But when we're on the ground, I'm thinking, man, I know so many things, even though that's kind of idiotic to say, because, no one is perfect and no one's a master. It's just, you kind of learn.
Right.
But I don't feel threatened when we're on the ground. I feel like I'm in a safe position. So, but in my mind, to answer simply, I just don't like slow fights. I don't like dancing. I don't like, I don't mind clenching if there's action, and I don't mind grappling if there's action.
Right.
But I don't like a slow fight. You know what I mean? Where you hug and you do all that stuff. I like it standing up and I like it on the ground, but I like it moving. I don't like waiting, when one guy's waiting for the next person to do something, or when, even though it is technique and it is a skill, and I understand that, but I don't like to fight like that. I like pressure fighters, like Kane or something, that he's gonna as soon as the fight starts, there's pressure. You're gonna receive pressure from him, regardless of what kind it is,
Right.
So I just like a moving fight. I don't. Doesn't matter if it's on the ground or if it's standing up. I like it to move. I don't like it to crawl and be slow, basically.
With your win over Alexander Brown, is there anything else in the works next? Is there any continued interest in fighting with LFA?
Yeah, they there was a mix-up. They had asked me if I wanted to fight someone else, and I said yeah, but it was a weight mix-up, and so that kind of was out the window. But I plan on trying to at least get one more fight in this year. I had cracked my ribs in the fight, and I don't know how. So I've been waiting for them to heal. I mean, I'm still training, but they're still kind of sore, and it's been 6 weeks, and they're still kind of sore, and they still kind of flame up after activity and stuff. So
right.
I was going to wait till they were fully healed before I started to look around for the next fight and train up to it. But I kind of have to coordinate it with all the things that we do musically and all the stuff in life, you know. So
yeah,
if we have to, you know, plan on going to hit the road or doing this or that, I take both of them seriously. You know what I mean? I'm not just you know, doing shit for fun. I throw myself into it. If I'm going to fight, and then I train twice a day up to my fight, and that's what I do. And if we're in music, that's just a constant thing that we do, and I spend hours doing that every day regardless. So whatever it is, I just don't like to just wing it, you know what I mean? I like to take the shit seriously. So if I'm not going to do that, if I don't have time to take it seriously and train twice a day and go compete well trained, then I just am not going to fight. It's basically the same answer I gave earlier when I was talking about what was in the works for the band.
Yeah,
is basically the same method. I just take everything seriously and have respect for it and prepare for it well, or don't do it at all. I'm not gonna walk in. I'm never gonna talk to you, Kelly, and be like, yeah, you know, that fight I was really underprepared, or I was really coming in sick and doing that, you know what I mean, stuff like that. That's not gonna ever be my explanation. My explanation is if there is a you know, shortcoming or some kind of, you know, loss that I take, I'm gonna say, yeah, I made a loss, and I thought I was gonna win, and I didn't, or something, you know. And it's the same with music. That's, you know, we thought we were gonna do this, and we came up short because we weren't prepared, and it was our fault. And that's what basically we try to do with everything, you know.
Right. Yeah, extending on what you were just talking about, is there anything that you learned in music that you can that you can transfer over to mixed martial arts, and vice versa? Is there anything from the mixed martial arts world that you can transfer over to the music world?
Yeah, I think there's a lot. It could be something really simplistic and literal and stupid, like just the physicality of it, you know what I mean? But also, I'm a firm believer that there's only really a handful of things that you can learn in life, period. So I think everything transfers over, even right down to the actual journey that it is. If you're an unsigned fighter trying to make a name for yourself and trying to be the best and come up and do this, or if you're in an unsigned group, to me it's the same thing. You know, these organizations or these schools or whatever it may be could be the same thing as these labels and these venues and stuff like that. So to me, it's not. But with that being said, I think everything is like that. I don't. So that's an answer, but it's kind of a shitty answer because it doesn't specifically tell you the things. You know what I mean? The things that I think about. And really, it's because there's so many I can't, kind of nail it down. I just try to have a well-rounded philosophy in each, and basically that you don't know everything. You're not very good. You're probably lucky, to be there. Don't waste anyone's time, and don't waste your own time, and try to make the most, of whatever opportunity you have. If you're not performing the way that you want to perform it, it's your own fault if you're not having the success that you want to have in music. It's not anyone else's fault. If you're not having the success you want to have in fighting, it's not anyone else's fault either. To me, It's just always your own fault. If you're getting your ass whooped, go find the best teacher at what you want to learn, and move there and live in his school and learn that. You know what I mean? If you're losing on the musical tip, you know, find, you know, the most talented people that you can find, mimic them, see what they do, try to understand what they understand, learn what they learn, know what they know, and execute it the way that you're supposed to be doing it. You know, it's pretty much the same, as far as I'm concerned, for anything. It's just most people kind of hold themselves back or you know, make excuses, be it in health or in fighting or whatever it may be. Like, oh, I'm not this kind of person or that kind of person, or this runs in my family or it doesn't. Oh yeah, I wasn't born in New York City or not, or oh yeah, I wasn't musically inclined and all that. None of that shit's real. So I don't know if I even answered your damn question.
No, that's great. That's perfect. In regards to, you know, your broken ribs, what do you know? How early do you feel like you could be able to fight next?
Just from a being prepared standpoint, I like to train up 8 or 12 weeks. So I don't think these things are going to be healed for a couple weeks. So 2 weeks from now. And then on top of that, I would have to, you know, find an opponent.
Yeah.
And then then when I did, then I would have to train up to that fight 8 or 12 weeks. So, you know, probably 3 or 4 months at the soonest. And that depends on where or if, you know, an opponent can be found that is kind of agreeable. You know, Michigan amateur fighting is kind of like the Wild West. You know?
Right.
It's it's really, I don't really agree with it. I mean, I don't really care to have enough problems with anything or don't really like or dislike it, but I think it's bullshit that you can choose to be a professional fighter in Michigan. Does that make sense?
Right.
I don't have to go fight an amateur at all. I know a few shitty fighters that turned pro and had never fought amateur, can't fight worth a shit, and just do it to get $500 every time they fight. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like a hustle to them. But I've never thought about making a dime in music or fighting. I just like doing it, and that is something that when you enjoy something, when you like doing it, the motivation to do it is greater than any kind of monetary motivation you can have. You know what I mean? And that's really what I believe in, really how I live. So I think, yeah, Michigan fighting is bullshit. I think you can go and be a pro tomorrow if you want with no fight experience and go get your head pounded in for money. That's kind of a joke. I don't think anyone should be able to be a professional for any reason. I think you should fight amateur, get experience. I think you should be good. First off, you should not lose as an amateur. You should stack up wins as an amateur before you decide to become pro. And then, you know what I mean? And
Right.
there'd be some type of process, but there's a lot of shit kind of in the Michigan fighting. You know what I mean? That is a little bit different.
I mean, shouldn't there be some sort of a like level of honor when it comes to, you know, being a mixed martial artist, instead of like just going for these little money grabs that they're going for with turning pro?
Yeah,
whatnot?
Yeah, it's kind of basically. To me, it's different when they go hand in hand, and you're like you're fighting to survive, and you're really hell bent 10 toes down on becoming a fighter and competing and doing that. That's a little different to me, but yeah, I think there should be a process, and there just to be clear, there are processes in other states.
Yeah.
There is a is a thing where you have to go through, you have to have X amount of fights as an amateur, X amount of wins, or whatever it may be to turn pro. But as far as honor is concerned, that's a whole other thing that is, not sanctionable by an organization, that also at the same time is kind of not quantifiable. You know what I mean? You can't look at someone and get it, if they got it or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's kind of one of those things that you see nowadays with the no integrity, having people buying belts and shit like that. And I'm sure you've seen it in a bunch of things like jiu-jitsu, where you have black belts running around, and you kind of necessarily know that that this person is not a black belt or whatever. But basically, it's just the westernization of anything. The jiu-jitsu made it over here, but you can purchase some features there. So there's a couple no honor having, no integrity having people anywhere you go, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's not the world isn't just going to be completely foolproof in that aspect. So I wouldn't expect competitive fighting to be any different.
Right. To kind of close out this interview, I did want to mention something. I follow you on Instagram, and on there you're always posting some pictures about with training. But what I also find interesting is that you are always posting about the books that you're reading. What are you currently reading?
Let me look at my bag right here. I read about 5 hours a day. That's what I really enjoy, is reading. And I make sure to wake up early to read. I usually read about one or 1.5 books a day. I just don't post them all, because that's kind of annoying if someone posts 1 or 2 books a day. Plus, it's kind of like
right.
People won't take the recommendation. Plus, a lot of things that I read are not things that I would recommend. But I try to post interesting standout reads, so people could, if they're curious, because a lot of people ask, what are you reading, or things like that. But right now I got, this is a spread. I got Robert Kraft and Igor Stravinsky. It's Conversations with Igor Stravinsky. It's a musical composer. I don't know if you know Stravinsky. He's actually probably my favorite, if not one of my favorite composers. Another book that I was reading right here is called Rogue Warrior. It's Richard Marcinko, and he put together SEAL Team 6. Yeah. Back in the day. I started reading that this morning after I finished this book. It's called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, which is I just finished, and I was actually going to reread tomorrow because it was profound to me, and I would recommend it. Ogie August and Cy Gotham wrote this book. They're from I believe they both work at Google.
Okay.
And I don't want to just be parroting off false information, but I believe this is probably the biggest macro study that you could do, as far as an unbiased study. Obviously Google being the search engine, it takes it's a lot of it is about sexuality and gender, and I believe that it's one of the only unbiased studies you can do, because without any laboratory bias or anything, knowing that it's being observed. I forget the terminology for that, but it's a gender and it's a sexual kind of oriented book about searches and demographics of male and female age groups across the world. So it's called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, probably because they surveyed 1 billion people,
right.
Which is very unusual to survey without them knowing, surveying 1 billion people across the whole world of every kind of person without them knowing they're being surveyed. I've never understood or read about any study like this. I don't think it was possible, until very recently.
Right.
So it says some real. It's a very clear kind of picture of sexuality and the differences between male and female, and to me it's enlightening and it's refreshing, because I get so sick and tired of hearing about the bullshit like that happens today with like how gender is a choice and how equal, like the definition of equality is kind of off and not really correct, I guess. Partly because in a way I don't believe that it's natural for males and females to be equal, not sociologically or economical, but we're not, and this is kind of funny to read because it just basically verifies that, yeah, as much as everyone says it's one way, it's actually another. But yeah, it's called The Billion Wicked Thoughts, or isn't it? Billion Wicked Thoughts. It's really good. I would recommend reading that. But I usually keep a scientific book, whether it be scientific in the sense of, science, like Newtonian ones, or physics, or even social sciences and history or sociology or philosophy of some kind, and then some kind of music or art book. But then also I don't know what it would be called, a book a guy is supposed to read, I guess, about training or guns or physical something, some kind of fighting or combat system or something like that. I usually keep one of each of those. So
right.
I would actually recommend the Billion Wicked Thoughts, though. It's a good read, and it definitely reveals, like I said, a lot of things that people kind of have the wrong idea about, which is really annoying, because I feel like women really have a leg up and a strength that they should exploit, and I feel like men do as well. The most obvious one being physical. Obviously, a man is typically stronger than a woman. There are exceptions, of course, but we should be exploiting the strengths of the genders that we have, rather than acting like they don't exist.
Yeah.
And I feel like women are more outfitted to do certain things, and whether it be careers or lifestyles or hobbies or whatever, I think they're more outfitted to excel and kind of expand the collective consciousness of basically the world of whatever it may be in that field. And I believe males have the different strengths as well to do the same. And I think it's kind of like should be a working together thing to kind of expand that, instead of acting like we're the same and just kind of running in place, which doesn't do good for anyone,
Right. One of the books that you posted on your Instagram that I was very interested in was Sex at Dawn. Relationships is something that I'm always kind of curious about, due to my own sort of personal confusion about it, or wanting certain things or not wanting certain things. What was that book about?
That book, I would recommend that book too, as well. It's about, the subtext of what it was, which was something like sex at dawn, why we stray, how we mate, what the modern relationship means. That, summarizes it, and it takes a lot of studies from primates, whether they're bonobos or rhesus monkeys, or our closest relatives of the chimpanzees and other things, and it basically it has a real wide scope, and I don't want to act like I'm going to Spark Notes it or Wikipedia or summarize it in any way, because there's so much to it that it's really, really good.
Right.
But a few things that jumped out to me about it was the big idea that that humans have always been warring animals. So the big dispelling idea had been just this violent competition for mating and to prosper, whether it be with food or possessions or materials or mates or how many partners a person may have. But that's not really actually true, and it hasn't been true more than it has. For example, I think it uses the idea that we've been people for millions of years, and only for a couple thousand years have we actually been at war or created wars and things like that. And this doesn't have anything to do with mating. It kind of veers off to come back around full circle, but I feel it makes the same point with mates and things like that, about how a lot of what we believe to be true when it comes to monogamy and things like that is not natural or true. And it's not practiced in any of our mammal ancestors. It's not practiced amongst anyone that we know of besides us as humans. No, there is one type of monkey, and I forget what it was, that is they have a mate and that's it. But the point is about how humans have kind of had this sociological or cultural, almost. It's kind of a cultural trait or characteristics that they take on with monogamy and things like that, and how it isn't natural, and it definitely isn't an answer, or it doesn't make for a better society, and everyone knows the obvious examples about marriage and things like this, but and divorces and other things like that are obvious, but it really peels the onion down on relationships and those types of things that kind of didn't come along until religion and stuff like that. Back in the old societies, if you know much about people before written stories, before the Bible, before all these things, they didn't value one person of the opposite sex. They didn't value money and gold. They didn't value possessions and things like this. These weren't things that they valued. They lived in groups. They had multiple partners. It never mattered. Jealousy is basically a learned social construct, and it's not an emotion that is just natural in people. And I mean, there are, I want to say thousands, but if not thousands, hundreds of civilizations, and be it certain place in the world, or a tribe here, or a community there, or townspeople here that don't have these same preconceived notions about sex and the opposite sex, or partners, or wives, or husbands, or monogamy, or things like this, and how stupid things like possessiveness or jealousy or whatever it may be is very cultural, and it's learned behavior. It's not natural, nor is it shared with the majority of people. So I'm trying to kind of summarize the book in that way, but it has a lot of insight from a lot of really good sources but it doesn't basically launch some kind of violent assault on marriage or monogamy or anything. It just says that, before all these things, before, for example, the Bible, or some of the older writings, which we all know the Bible is basically a regurgitated version of some writings that were even older than that. Things like money, gold, possessions, a wife or whatever it may be. They all kind of came into play when all that stuff came about. You know what I mean? When those things appeared in stories, you know, hunter-gatherer societies didn't want to scrounge and salvage possessions like pelts and bones. They shared all their food. They shared, you know, all the women, the food, and the children, and they shared all the responsibilities, and it was perfectly fine. That's basically hope that it does the book justice, I guess, the description. But it's slick though. The way that it's written. It's not some thing like, for example, maybe like Sam Harris or Dawkins or something. How in their realistic, deterministic kind of evolutionary biological way, they kind of assault religion. Chris Ryan, he doesn't assault the marriage construct or the monogamous partnership and stuff like that. He's not attacking that. He's just saying that it's not necessarily as natural as people say it is.
Right.
And it's perfectly fine to live without. It doesn't have to, you know, it doesn't have to be that, you know, or it's like check a box, single or married or divorced. It's kind of like, well, that's weird because not necessarily doesn't have to be that way, you know. And a lot of it did have to do with religion when that Chris Ryan says in the book, and I thought it was kind of obvious, and it's very typical, and this is the way a lot of people kind of cherry pick facts, but when, you know, it was written, don't covet thy neighbors, the wife of the neighbor, whatever. For example, it also goes on to say, or the neighbor's cattle, or the neighbor's house, or the neighbor's, you know, all of these things basically just says your neighbor's shit. You know what I mean? Don't be taking your guy's shit. But, you know, they like to cherry pick it and say, oh, the neighbor's wife is the sacred thing. You know what I mean? And act like only basically give you the cherry picked information, and it kind of changes the whole idea of it. You know, when there's a commandment that says don't cover thy neighbor's wife, you kind of take that as a whole thing. It's a lot different than saying, yeah, don't covet any of the neighbor's shit. You know what I mean? Right. Which is very strange in itself because, you know, what were we doing more for more time than we weren't doing it? We were hunting and gathering, sharing, and things like this, and we weren't coveting anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of funny, and that's a little side note, but I tried not to make it that long of an answer, man, but
no, it was very interesting. I definitely really wanted to know what that was about, because the whole dynamic of relationships is something that I'm very interested in, just due to my own sort of struggle all my life trying to deal with all the social constructs and norms of it, and not really feeling that I fit into all of that.
Yeah, it's possible. Well, this is the breath of fresh air, kind of this book is, because the first step would be understanding that it is very possible not to, and that's okay. That's an option, which is not very prominent in society. Society doesn't necessarily champion the fact that it could be an option to not be into that stuff. Or to not be, you know, have that stuff not be appealing or not be a part of your life. That's okay. Doesn't make you any which way. It doesn't, you know, necessarily change anything. So it's very much okay to have that not be a thing.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't necessarily know if that's a real answer. It could be, you know, there could be a guy running around, can't get right, can't get his relationship right and all that stuff, and it all could stem back to a handful of things in his life, or his failure to choose someone that's worth a shit. Obviously, you know, it could be any number of things, but I think a lot of this stuff stems back to an answer I said before, that you always have to first and foremost blame yourself. That's what I do whenever I run into something bad, like even in a relationship or something, if that ever happened, which it never does. I always say, well, you kind of did this, man, because you chose to be spending your time with this person. And if you had better selecting skills, better eye, a more keen eye, you would have selected a better, a better person, because there's no shortage of people. I mean, I doubt you're out here running around in Detroit like, where's the bitches? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? There's plenty of people around. It's not about the right one, or the right one hasn't came along, or whatever. It's like, you probably can't pick the right one, and that's basically your fault. And not saying to you, but that's how I think about it, about myself.
Definitely. Well, Dave, it's been great talking with you, like always.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks for taking the time out to chat with me for the podcast. Where can people find you online, or the band online?
The band online, I believe all the stuff is King 810 Flint on all of the things that are social.
Yeah.
Mine is, I'm only on Instagram. It's DK Gunn, because I thought it was the most appropriately fitting kind of visual medium. I don't really enjoy talking and things like that, so Twitter wasn't really my bag. Well, None of it's really my bag, to be completely clear. But I thought this little visual medium was kind of cool, and people have been asking me a bunch about it. So I figured to get them to shut the fuck up, I would try to do it. So
yeah, I like your Instagram.
Thanks, Kelly. Yeah.
Well, man, it's been good talking with you, man. You have a good day, and good luck with everything, man.
Thanks, you too. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, later.
Take it easy.
Okay, bye. So that was my interview with David Gunn from the band King 810. He's a good brother. Go ahead and support him and the band. And like always, now I am joined with my co-host, pro wrestling and MMA connoisseur, Detroit hip-hop artist, and proud Marine, V-Styles.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
What it is, man? You all right, Cat Fresh?
Man, I'm good. I can hear again. We were off for 2 weeks. 1 week is because my computer crashed. It was just a power little issue. They had to just kind of reset the board. Nothing was broken.
Yeah, I think I'm going through the same shit right now.
Yeah, man. I was like, it scared the shit out of me. But it's like, like in your kitchen, there's that little button that's on the sockets when some shit happens.
That always pop out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's basically what they had to do to in a similar manner, due to my computer, is just basically just reset the board, because there was some sort of power surge that somehow happened, and the computer just shuts itself down just to protect itself. Yeah, and then last week I couldn't do the podcast because my hearing was screwed up, because I had an earwax build up, and it was just they were able to get the first doctor visit. They were able to get my everything out of my left ear just fine, but it was kind of a challenge on my right ear. So I had to go back a few days later and do all of these ear drops in my ear for all those days to soften everything up. But during that time, man, I was just in pain all the time, And,
I know you had to be. You had to be.
It was awful. There was this one time I forgot my ear drops when I was at work, and I was literally in so much pain that I left work early, but I was so close to going to the emergency room because I was in so much pain.
Oh, man, that's fucked up.
But everything's out of my ears now. I'm clear. I can hear better than ever. I can hear shit that I don't even want to hear at all.
Right.
I'm good now. I can hear shit in music that I've never really heard in a long time, man. So it's crazy, man. So I'm good to go now.
That's a good part. That's a
that
good
is a
part.
good
I
part.
mean, and you may not heard a snare that you didn't know that was in a song. You like, damn, a snare is there?
Right, man. There's like these things in the background. I was like, whoa, man, this song a little deeper than I thought it was, man. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Shit, but yeah, man, a lot to talk about in the world of, pro wrestling and MMA. I know this has happened to you, but it just happened to me recently. Rampage blocked me on Twitter. What the hell?
Oh man, look, you have to. Yeah, initially I was like, that motherfucker blocked me. So then after a while, I was like, man, fuck it, man. If he want to be emotional, man, let him do that, man. It's like, wow, are you really, you're not. I was more like, wow, he really got upset about that.
It's probably all the times that I retweeted Mo's fat pictures of him. So that's probably when.
Well, I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. Fucking. And he's going to lose on March 31st, and, he can retire at heavyweight.
Yeah, King Mo can render him
Rampage is
obsolete.
the type of dude. He's the type of dude that can dish it out but can't take it.
Right.
It's like, wow, you talk all this shit all the time, and because you tweeted some shit from Mo, because that's the only reason he blocked me is because I tweeted some shit from about Mo and his name was in. I was like, what a bitch, and I still hit him with messages, even though my shit might be retweeted, he might see it and somebody else will retweet. But Rampage got female ways, man.
Man, like
female ways.
Like all these years, man, I've never been blocked. From what I know, like people that I've interacted with or whatever, I've never been blocked by anybody from the music world, the wrestling world, or anything. But it just funny that...
Hey man, join the club, man. Hey, I've been blocked by him for about 2 years now, man. So hey, I'm okay. That's just more shit for me to talk about, man. But if he that sensitive, man, he a sensitive dude, man.
Right, right.
Sensitive thugs need love too.
Definitely. So yeah, March 31st it'll be Rampage versus King Mo in outside of Chicago. So hopefully King Mo renders him obsolete.
Absolute.
Delete. Oh boy. A lot of things going on in the world of MMA. We had this UFC 209 card this past weekend. It was for the most part, it was I thought it was a really, really good card. But then we just had that main event that was very just like,
I mean, a lot of people, we have a lot of similar to armchair quarterbacks. We have a lot of armchair fighters out there. Them dudes fought each other.
Yeah.
Once already, so they already knew how they was coming.
Yeah.
So you had to think that this fight was going to be a chess match, and they were waiting all night to counter each other and to see what each other was going to do. And considering the fact that Wonderboy kept distance from him, that's what people failing to realize.
Right.
Wonderboy used his length, and he wanted Woodley to react and try to come in so he could time and counter him. Woodley knew that, so he basically did the same thing. They played chess with each other for 5 rounds, and that's the beauty of martial arts, man. You waiting on, what would you do if you? It's easy for somebody to say, well, if I was champion, I'd have went out there and I'd have did that. But you're not in the fucking cage fighting, man. So I wasn't necessarily mad at the fight.
I was at first until I actually kind of let it sink in, and then sort of I heard Tyron Woodley explaining things. I heard Wonderboy explain things, and then I thought, I'm like, you know what? Like, this is, when it comes down to it, this is still martial arts, you know. Like,
yeah, it's martial arts.
this isn't
And
like
everything
this
is
isn't an action movie, you know. Everything doesn't
Yeah.
have to be
and
blows for blow, you know.
and that's what motherfuckers want, and you're not gonna get that not out of the skilled ones. You're not out of the skilled fighters. You're not. You know, most casual fans want to see rock'em, sock'em, kick'em robots, and that shit ain't like that, man. Things gotta be set up. A jab sets up this. This sets up that. If you see him, you have to counter. You know, whether it's a stance, a dude might be in another stance, might take you to being in a softball stance because you don't want to. And this is stuff that, you know, you did dress rehearsal over 8 to 12 weeks. You know, you're trying to calculate that person move. So when that person come at you with that move in your mind, it's like, okay, I saw that. This is what I do. And I wasn't mad at the fight because I understand fighting. You know, good for Tyron, man, because I keep saying, you know, UFC don't want him as champion, man. Dana be saying some whole ass shit about people,
And
man.
I'm back on
my Dana White rant.
And that was the thing, because Tyron brought this up, is like, they did not promote this fight at all the way it should have been. It should have been like,
Nope.
This was the fight of the night at one of the biggest cards ever in UFC history, and we're doing this rematch, and it's gonna be something. But days before this fight, you had Dana White talking trash about Tyron Woodley instead of promoting the fight.
Yep.
So it was a weird thing about it. It was just that there was really no real story being told, but they were doing a lot of like showcasing Wonderboy in certain ways, you know. Before
and that's how you could tell they don't want him as champion, because you don't see that with Tyron.
Right.
You don't see that. You know, think about it. Old girl Amanda Nunes beat Ronda Rousey a couple months out, and they still really haven't hyped her up at all since that victory. Everything is still what Ronda Rousey did wrong instead of what Amanda did right. So it's just certain people that are holding belts that the UFC don't necessarily want them to hold them belts. They just buying time so they can get off to the next person that they feel like that has that drawing power, because without Conor, they don't have anything. That's why, you know, you'll see him in that octagon before you see him in that ring, you know, in that square circle fighting Floyd Mayweather, because it will taint their biggest star. You know, UFC is I love MMA, but it ain't fun no more. It ain't fun watching the stuff that we see.
Right, and it's kind of crazy that like there's a certain aspect of, you can tell that there is champions that the company doesn't want to be champions or even give a shot to. Like the name that kind of comes up to someone who hasn't been, who seems to be like not getting his shot, is Demian Maia. And
indeed.
Yeah, and what they've done is they've booked a fight with him with Jorge Masvidal, and that means that he is not necessarily even going to be thought to be getting a title shot for a while now. At this point,
yeah.
You know, even if, you know, just assuming that he gets out of that fight. And this is a thing that it was funny that this was something that Jorge brought up on the MMA Hour. He was like saying that before he felt like the company wasn't really behind him, but then he basically said that he felt like they finally came up with the they thought that Masvidal like is kind of like someone that they can use to sort of eliminate fighters that they don't want to see rise, you know?
Yep. And that's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to like not have someone like Demian Maia be in the title picture or hold that title. But like, and let me ask you something. Someone like Demian Maia, at this point, is there any difference on pushing that needle in regards to a pay-per-view buys in comparison to someone like Wonderboy or Tyron Woodley?
I mean, no, none of them really has that power right now.
Yeah.
The reason Wonderboy got the rematch because the fight was so close the first fight.
Right.
And this fight was pretty close. So what they'll do is they'll put Wonderboy against another top contender, and we'll see what we get, because I really think they want him to be champion in the welterweight division. I don't understand why they allow GSP to go for a title in a weight class that he's never fought in before. If anything, if you want to make an excuse for him fighting for a title, then it should be the welterweight title because he never lost it in the cage. So it's just a lot of confusion, going on in the UFC right now. And every week they do something to where it's like, damn, you can't say shit about Bellator no more because you're doing
right.
some, you know what I'm saying? It's like you want to make fun and crack jokes on Bellator, but how different are you? You're doing shit that you're really not supposed to be doing as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you have somebody with GSP coming back to fight Michael Bisping. You have someone like Yoel Romero who's basically waiting for his title shot. And do you think
No, gay Jesus, no.
Do you think the UFC wants someone like Yoel Romero to be a champion?
Nope. No, I don't think they want Yoel. It's disrespectful what they do to Yoel and Jacare. And them dudes has been busting their ass to get in position to fight for a title. And they let this motherfucker Michael Bisping, they basically gave him a money fight. Because I ain't going to say he earned a money fight. They gave him a money fight. You beat Dan Henderson, who's 100 years old. No diss to Dan. I like you, and I still think you won them fight. But you defend against Dan Henderson, who was like number 12, number 13. Then you defend against GSP when you come back from injury. No date has been set yet. You mean to tell me Yoel, who has been promised a title shot twice in a row, has been passed over again? Nah, that shit is whack.
Right.
Shit is whack, man. I don't respect it. And I love GSP, man, but I just think it's whack. And that's once again the UFC, they know they need that star power, so they go let it's funny, they talk so much shit about GSP. Now look at it. Hey, I had a meeting with him. Hey, the guy, hey, he wanted to fight. He's a fighter. Hey, let's come aboard.
Yeah.
Before, if he doesn't want to fight, hey, I know a fighter. And blah, 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 blah. They're going to be talking so much shit. And it's like, dude, come on, man. You be talking out both sides of your neck at times. And I like Dana. But Dana be pissing me the fuck off, man. Be like, dog, man, cut the shit, dude. Cut the fucking shit with the bullshit. Then to come out and say, if you're not Connor, then don't ask me for money fights. But you give Michael Bisping a money fight.
Right.
You gave him a money fight. I could see if he defended it against a top contender. And you like, you know what? He deserved a money fight. You gave that motherfucker a money fight. Come on, man.
When it comes to all this kind of like this search for star power and these money fights that's going on and trying to be controlled, I know we just talked about like how like this Woodley Wonderboy fight was, it wasn't necessarily the most exciting fight ever, and a lot of people hated it, saying it was the worst championship fight ever and shit like that. But
them dudes, the people who think and say shit like that probably ain't never threw hands in their life.
Right. But do you think this? But do you think the people that say shit like that, the people that want to be entertained, is that the audience that they're going for on these pay-per-views?
Of course.
Yeah.
They want the dumb educated fighter. I mean, fight fan who don't really understand the dynamics of the wrestler or the dynamics of the kickboxer, the Muay Thai practitioner, or the person that's strictly a striker, or this person who knows sambo. They don't care about none of that. You know what they want to see? They want to see movie film clips of motherfuckers getting knocked out like they see in the movies. This ain't the fucking movies. This shit is real.
Right.
Shit is real. So, you're going to get that some fights, but, you're not going to get that all fights. And they don't understand that. So when they see somebody going, on some technical shit, it's like, oh, it's boring, fight! That's not going to happen.
But, okay.
These dudes don't.
But like going towards that idea of having that exciting main event, do you think? And I was thinking about this after this last fight. Do you think for just like the pay-per-views alone, do you think since 205 the UFC has been successful in booking the correct main event for since then? Because 206 you had Pettis and Holloway, which that came with Pettis missing weight. He couldn't win the interim title, and I think he ends up breaking his hand or whatever during the fight, and Holloway ends up winning. And then 207 you had the squash of Nunes over Rousey. That was just a huge thing because it was Rousey's return. And then 208 you had the Holmes Durandame shit show, and then you had this very chess playing sort of Woodley Wonderboy fight for 209. Do you think like the UFC has like failed in getting those exciting main events out there though for the pay-per-views?
Nope. It's because when and again, I'm all about stories. I'm all about good comebacks and stuff like that. But it's obvious that when Conor McGregor's not fighting, nobody really cares. I think in UFC, I think they miss John Jones fighting.
Yeah.
I want to see him come back and succeed because, no matter the drama you have in life, if you go out and win, people forget about that. And I want to see a good comeback story, man. That dude went all the way to the bottom. And I think I told you this before, man. It's not easy for me to beat up on a dead horse.
Right.
So it'd be good to see the rise of John Jones again, and maybe he can be that other face that they have, but they don't have no face. All they have is Conor McGregor, and you don't know what Conor McGregor is going to do right now. So, yeah, believe it or not, UFC they're in. I just think the numbers that they claim that they've been having over the last couple of years, I think it's going to go down considerably because they don't have that one person. That household name Conor is that household name now, but I think Conor ego is going to play itself out because that dude has too much leverage for a guy who's never defended his title.
Right.
So, he's never defended his title. He's lost in the UFC. Somehow we've bought into all the theatrics, and that's not to say he's not going out there and finishing the fights because he is, but he has too much power right now. And I just don't think now, I'll tell you one person who I do think could go out and possibly, have that, he can be that star person, but he's going to have to mop out his division. I think he's capable of doing it. Cody Garbrandt, I think he's capable being that next dude. Star power wise, man, he has a great look. No homo.
Right.
He has a great look.
I mean, yeah, they already have him
he can
doing
fucking
stuff
fight.
like they already have him doing stuff like a little bit
I've
outside
seen it.
of the UFC to kind of bridge the gap.
You see the tap out. You see the tap out commercial when the family, the family was drooling all over him, and this girl, was there, and then the family hugged him, and he's like, tap out of this shit. Like, it made him feel so uncomfortable.
I heard
like,
about it, but I
done
didn't
with
watch
you,
it. Yeah.
Man, that shit was dope. It's a dope commercial.
Nah, but yeah, no, definitely.
so-
he's someone that that if he can just start winning in his division.
He has that it. I see the it in him. He has that it power. Now, if he can, and I love the fact that I see, because I never liked T.J. Dillashaw, but I seen the still pick of Cody with his hand around his throat. I was like, that's gangster as fuck. He's choking his ass like, you bitch. That's what it looked like, you bitch. That's what, like, you got to see the pic, you bitch. That's what it looked like.
The day that came out, man, it was just like MMA, like fans and everything were just making memes all day in regards to that.
I ain't even seen no man. I just seen the pic. I'm like, ooh. When
They're
I looked
making
at it,
memes and
like,
tweets with it, man. It was hilarious, man.
Wow.
But nah, man. No, I definitely agree. I think Cody Garbrandt can like definitely be that like that dude, to step in to be.
He can. He has that it power, man. It's either you got it or you don't have it. Some people have to work at it. Some people is just given. I think Cody, is given, and he's a young dude that's only gonna get better. He hasn't even reached his peak yet, man. The shit he did to Dominic Cruz is like, who does that to Dominic Cruz? So,
right.
Good for him, man. I hope he takes it and runs with it.
Right.
And get his just due money wise. Because at the end of the day, you fighting for your future, man. You hit it. The UFC, is similar to WWE. This McMahon will, in a heartbeat, like, I'll fire you and make another one. And that's what Dana think. And the problem with Dana is you just can't make another one. You got to hope that you can find that other one. So, yeah, I think UFC is I think they gonna be in a world of trouble real soon if things don't pick up, because you can't have more going out than you got coming in, and that's a fact.
Right. And the biggest letdown of 209 was the fact that we didn't get to see Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson. That was.
Man, I'm still sad over that.
Man, that's the third time they tried to get this fight going, man.
I talk a lot of shit about Khabib. I'm a Khabib fan.
Right.
I think I rocks with Khabib. I've been rocking with Khabib from day one. And to see that happen last week, I didn't even want to watch the pay-per-view after that. Matter of fact, I didn't watch the pay-per-view. I went out, and I went out and enjoyed myself, man. But, horrible. Just fucking horrible, man. I mean, it's hard to defend a dude when, your body can't shut down. It's true. But I just wonder how much went into that, as far as, like, did your body shut down? Like, what played into your body shutting down, to make it do that? Like, what? Because you look fine the day before. So what happened in those hours to where it's like, and it make you wonder, is something going on here? Is something fishy going on? Because that's just weird. It's weird as fuck, man. And I'm still gonna rock with Khabib. I hope they can get this rematch going and shit wind up being okay. But yeah, it definitely a blow. And the funny part is, Conor predicted that shit a long time ago.
Yeah, see, like, this is the crazy thing, man. Like, there's so there as much stuff as we, you want to talk about, with Conor McGregor. A lot of the stuff that he's saying is actually coming true.
Be
man.
true. It be coming true, and that's scary as fuck. Like, wow, that dude predicted that shit.
That's why I call him Mystic Mac.
Yeah. Like, how the fuck did he know?
But
He knew.
no, it was definitely like that was such a letdown, and it was funny. Like, for a lot of people, a lot of things that I think a lot of people were more, psyched for that fight than the Woodley Wonderboy fight.
Yeah, that should have really been the main event, if you ask me. But, I mean, it could have been the main event. It's for the interim title. It could have been.
Right.
That's what I wanted to see. I mean, I root for Tyron because it's obvious UFC don't want him champion. So anytime he could defy anybody,
yeah,
especially when it's on some bullshit, I'm gonna stick by you. But that wasn't the main event to me. The main event was Khabib and Tony. And when that shit got called, I immediately I didn't even care. I was like, okay, well, I'll DVR it. I'll see it when I come home, and I came home, watched it, and it was like True and D styles make fights, and I ain't necessarily mad at it. But was it? Have I seen better? Yeah, and it's just bad, man. It's just fucking bad, man. It's a letdown for people that want to see Khabib do his thing, man.
Well, if we're gonna actually see Khabib fight again, it's gonna either be at 210 or 211, because after that will be Ramadan, so he's not going to fight during Ramadan. So if he doesn't fight, on either one of those cards, we're not gonna see him at the earliest until the fall.
Right. Well, I definitely hope they get it together, man, because it'd be a travesty if we don't see who the best two fighters in lightweight are, because to me those are your champions. I don't think Conor's the best lightweight. I think Conor's the champion, but he ain't the best lightweight in the world. I think Khabib or Tony by far are the, Khabib being number one, Tony being number two. Conor falls in somewhere. He might be 3, just on the fact that you beat the former champion. To me, that was an off night for Eddie Alvarez, but it is what it is. What do you think about Daniel Cormier is upset over how the UFC 210 poster looks? Have you seen it?
Yeah. Look, okay. For me, those posters just look like crap to begin with, these days.
Yep, they look like bad album covers, but go ahead.
But it is kind of funny that, he's up front but small, but Rumble's in the back and huge, and it's
almost like that. See, they should be subliminal, in my opinion, man. It's like, why wouldn't you have the champion as the big dude? I like Rumble, but it's like, damn.
It's so weird, man. It's so bad. Maybe they're trying to go for that thing where Rumble's coming for you. He's the big bad guy coming after your title. He's creeping on you, but the graphic artist is just not that good enough to actually bring out that idea. So it looks crap.
Yeah.
I don't who's okay in these crappy freaking.
Makes you wonder, right? Makes you fucking wonder.
What the hell, man?
Who gave you the go for this? Who said yes to this?
And they had the same crappy flyer for our poster for the last pay-per-view, man. It was they look awful, man. Who wants to buy a pay-per-view when you have a poster that looks like that, When you're trying to I don't know.
To me, it's like, wow, man, why are you, man, you make your champion look real bad right now. What the fuck's up?
Right, man.
With that, why would you? What came into your brain when you decided to do that shit? So I get why Daniel Cormier is mad. You know, he just needs to. I'm pretty sure they're going to come out with an alternative poster to satisfy his needs, but that shit just looked whack, man.
They just need to fire the whole creative,
from
the whole graphic artist department, man, and like I don't get somebody like I don't know, man. Just get. I mean, you don't see that shit in the WWE, man. You see these crazy, you know, artwork and stuff like that. Even the Bellator stuff looks really cool. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I love how Bellator do their shit. I've yet to hear anybody complain about how they're being promoted. You know,
but these UFC posters lately have been trash, man. Like just awful.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it ain't. You know, and I said this a long time ago, man. That the tide is gonna slowly turn, man. It's gonna slowly turn. So people need to really open their eyes up and pay attention to what's going on, because MMA is now owned essentially by Hollywood. You know, Hollywood is going to try to make this shit as pretty as possible. Mixed martial arts is not pretty, and when you try to mix pretty and beauty, it don't match.
Right.
Beauty and the Beast don't match in real life, and you know, I get the Fratelli brothers for selling it. You totally understand why. They're in the business to make money, but we're not even really a year into them selling the UFC, and you already see how much they're missed. So, it's bad, but it's great for MMA because it opens the doors for, you know, the ONE FCs, the Bellators, the Risings. It gives life to people who get tired of the same old crap.
Right.
Again, similar to wrestling. Wrestling was at its most healthiest when they had competition.
Right.
You know, and it was major competition. When Vince bought everything out, it became like the same shit every week. So UFC did something similar to that, and you only have these little small local shows or regional shows to where it's not on the same landscape. It may be good shows and they have good fighters, but ultimately you piggyback those type shows and try to get into a UFC. Well, the UFC is not the UFC that we are accustomed to seeing, and you know, so now people are looking for alternatives.
Right.
And that's why you have the Bellators, similar to Ring of Honor, and you got the World Series of Fighting like the TNAs, and you got the Rising with New Japan Wrestling. It's so much shit that you can compare it to from a wrestling perspective that, you know, as a fan, if you really love this shit, you can't just view it from one way, which is the UFC. You got to know it all to appreciate it all. And then you can make your judgment on the shit you like, you know, looking at the most and what you enjoy the most. And some may say, hey, I love the UFC, but then you're going to have some people that's going to be like, man, fuck that Bellator and shit. Then you're going to have some people say, hey, ONE FC, I really love that. Then you're going to have extreme people like, man, fuck that, I like Legacy. It's regional, but I like Legacy. Then you're going to have people that's going to say, oh, man, nah, overseas is where it's at, man. You know, ONE FC and Rising, da-da-da-da, man. So it's all about having options, and it's all about loving MMA across the board, not just one brand. UFC is not MMA. You know, MMA is UFC and a lot of other promotions. So, yeah.
Right, yeah, because I was I've been doing a lot of reading up on ONE Championship recently, and I read this one article with I forget which fighter it was, but he just recently re-signed with ONE FC, and he had gotten offers from Bellator, from UFC, to come over here. He said that the Bellator contract was the offer was very tempting, and very close to what he ended up, because he ended up re-signing with ONE FC just because he was thinking about his future and what he wanted to do and everything. But the one thing he said was that the offer, he saw everything for UFC. He saw the offer, but then the thing that's persuaded him not to go with UFC was that he saw so many people leaving UFC or being cut from the UFC that he was just like, nah, this isn't going to be a good place for me. But like, he's going to stay with ONE FC because he got a good deal, what he wanted. But he's also going to once he gets done fighting, he already has plans with the company to be an ambassador.
See? And that's what it's all about, man. You got to find your niche. Yep.
So yeah, that was very interesting to to really read about in regards to the other companies out there. But like you're saying, there is these other things out there that and not everybody's fit for UFC. So you just got to pretty much find your little niche,
Some people just think UFC is, those alphabet letters is just the greatest, but it ain't for everybody. Some people don't want that. Some people want to get paid, and you risking your life, man. So would I want to be in UFC making 15 and 15 and get KO'd and killed, or would I want to go to Bellator and get 25 and 25 and lose and still be able to, survive a little bit. 50,000 a fight ain't bad for, 3 months of training.
Right.
That ain't bad. Plus you still have your endorsements. But I'm telling you, man, fighters are wising up, and when they contracts expire, now that they have leverage to say, hey, I want to know what my worth is. Let me see who's gonna fight for me. To me, it's a travesty that Lorenz Larkin don't have a contract yet, and Ryan Bader for that much.
Right.
They don't have contracts yet. And they still got Ryan Bader listed on the rankings for UFC, and I think they did that shit purposely. Because I think they did that shit on purpose, but he don't have a contract. Because think about it, they took Lorenz Larkin off the rankings, and he don't have a contract. So why they still got Ryan Bader, but yet they don't have Lorenz Larkin ranking? So yeah, UFC, man, they're a trip, man. They're a trip. I watch the fighters. I don't watch the brand.
Right. All right, moving on from the world of MMA, let's go to the world of pro wrestling. And probably one of the biggest news in the world of pro wrestling is that the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, the broken Matt Hardy, and Brother Nero,
Matt Hardy and Brother Nero,
they have officially left Impact Wrestling over a lengthy time of contract negotiations, which they pretty much felt like they were being dissed. They specifically Matt, with his broken Matt character, pretty much saved this company and gave the first positive news for Impact Wrestling in years. And they were kind of dicking them around for a few months. They started contract negotiations all the way back in like November or December, and they kept on going, contacting them over and over again these past couple months, and they still didn't want to give all the creative control that they that they wanted, and they also wanted to put this 10% like thing where anything that the Hardy Boys make outside of Impact, that they owe Impact 10%.
They want to get bread off that. Fuck that.
Yeah, they want. So they ended up leaving Impact. Right now there might be some sort of issue still going on with the trademark of the broken character. So it's not really clear in regards to, I guess, the ownership of that. But there hasn't been really anything. No one's really come out and said that he can't use it yet or anything. Or I guess they have, but there's still like a little bit of a, I don't know, whatever about who owns that character.
I think the Hardy Boys win that because I think they created that character.
Yeah.
So you can't come and take something that I created. You didn't have, yeah, sure, you let me do it, but you didn't create that character. That character was created by Matt Hardy, and and with being, him being dope and doing that, also reinvented his brother. So, like, how do you even say, oh, yeah, I think they'll wind up winning. Now, could it be in litigation for a minute? Sure, it could. But fans are not stupid. Fans know what's up. And it doesn't matter what, TNA says or what they try to do. You can't control the fans. When the fans know about you, you're going to hear it. It doesn't matter when if they show up hypothetically in the WWE ring, the first things that are going to be said is delete. You can't even, and that's the hardcore fan. That's not the person that remember Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. Oh, the Hardy Boys. Nah. These are the hardcore people that they get excited when they see you.
Right.
So, and it tripped me out the other night seeing the big pop that Austin Aries, finally got, and it finally seemed like it popped on the main roster,
right,
and it didn't pop in the cruiserweight roster, so. Yeah, man. The fans know you can't outsucker the fans, man. The real ones know.
Right.
And I think they're gonna be okay with whatever they decide to do.
Yeah, and even while they're still on with Impact, they were already starting this sort of tour of going to win all the tag team championships around in Mexico and around the States and everything, but they ended up on at ROH and a Ring of Honor for Ring of Honor's event over in Manhattan at the Hammerstein Ballroom, and ended up beating the Young Bucks for the ROH Tag Championship. So they are the tag champions, and they said that night that they did sign a contract with ROH to be in the company. There hasn't been any details about the length of that contract or what it means or anything, but they said it was a lucrative contract. So even with that, who knows? You might still see them in the WWE eventually, because we don't know how long that contract actually is. It could be a week.
This is true.
It could be 2 weeks. It could be a month. It could be a year. I don't know. They haven't had any detail. I haven't seen any details about the length of the contract, but they said it was lucrative and that they're going to be. They said they're going to be on many dates in the future. But Matt knows what he's doing, and he's been keeping this broken thing going perfectly. Where there's always that sort of hint. There's always that mystery with it all, which has been great. That's been the best part about it.
Exactly.
So like I'm just excited to see where it goes. I think even with this, like the broken Matt Hardy thing is so huge right now in the wrestling world that it really doesn't matter where he's at. People will follow him to it.
And this is true. And that's why you can't front on it, because Matt Hardy is on a roll right now, man, and it's hard to reinvent yourself. And the journey that he's been on is wow. It's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about to see where this goes, because now that he's in ROH and maybe even still being able to do the indies and stuff, you have all that creative freedom to do stuff. which is going to be crazy. So I'm super excited.
Just like being a hip hop artist. Just like being a hip hop artist, man. You get to do what you want to do.
Right. Turning to the WWE, it's been announced that Ravishing Rick Rude will be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Cut the music. What I like to do is have all you Detroit dickheads
Dude.
keep the noise down while I show you what a real ravishing body looks like. Hit the music.
And he had one of the best.
I love Rick Rude, dude.
He had one of the best
when
music ever.
Look, when I was a shorty, when we first started, like when fitted hats, when you can get your own custom-made fitted hats, I got a fitted hat. The hat was black with a purple brim.
Yeah.
You know, it was a baseball hat and it was fitted. But on the front of the hat was simply ravishing. And I was like a real man. Rick Rude was my guy, man. Rick Rude was my guy. Him and Manny Fernandez, man, look, a lot of people don't know that the original Legion of Doom was Rick Rude, Jake Snake Roberts, the Road Warriors, and it was Paul Ellering, and it was another person. But Rick Rude and the Road Warriors were bouncers in Minnesota, and that's how they became professional wrestlers. You know, people, you know, they worked out all the time with each other, and they grew up in the game, you know, together, man. So I'm super happy to see. Look, Rick Rude did some shit that nobody in the history of professional wrestling, like, it'll never be done again. Rick Rude, this trivia shit right here. Rick Rude is the only person that had been on a live Raw show only an hour later to be on a live Nitro show in the same fucking day.
That's
some real.
That was the best.
Look. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that was one of the best things ever. I remember that day like it was yesterday. I'm like watching Raw, and you're like, he's there with DX doing his thing, and then later on he ends up on Nitro.
On fucking Monday Night Nitro in the same fucking night. That was some, like, how did that happen? That was some, and the shows were, again, those two shows were live that night.
No, actually, I don't think Raw was live.
Was Raw taped?
It was still being taped at that time, but I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think shortly after.
You know what? No, I think that shit was live. I think, matter of fact, hold on a second. This real shit right here, man. Hold on a second.
No,
I think that shit was live because they was in the same city. Rick Rude.
I think that was still being taped. So,
yeah, it was like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's still Raw as fuck though.
Right.
Still Raw. He was the only dude that knew. He's the only dude that knew. Him and WCW, and yeah, that shit was Raw.
That shit was fantastic, man. I can remember it like it was today. It was like, holy crap! Like, wait a minute. He was just on Raw like an hour ago.
Rick was that dude, man, and I remember him beefed out with Jake Roberts, man, for really fuck. You know, he was fucking with his wife in real life. And, you know, that shit, he didn't know that was Jake's wife, but they turned that shit into some real shit.
Right.
And Jake had a lot of respect for Rick Rude as a worker, man. Rick Rude, man, one of the greatest, man. You know, he was a dude that, you know, I always say, when you had that it factor, you don't need a world championship.
Yeah.
You're the man anyway.
Oh.
Undertaker got to do one. Undertaker do 1-2 events a year. He the man when he show up.
Yeah, there's no one like Rick Rude, man. Like, I remember as a kid when I seen that guy, I was like, man, that dude.
Rick was the man, dude.
Like,
Look, when you heard that music, dog, I've seen Rick Rude a zillion times at Joe Louis Arena in Culver Hall. When you heard that music and when you heard him get in the middle of the ring, you see Bobby the Brain Heenan help him take off his fucking robe. And then when the music stopped and he got to talking, see that's the thing. When you have the gift on the mic, oh my God, Rick had the fucking gift on the mic. See, I used to hate Rick Rude, man, because although I appreciated him as a wrestler, man, you know, I'm a diehard Road Warrior fan, man. So when him and Manny Fernandez beat the Road Warriors for the NWA World Tag Team Champions, I was bitter for a long time, you know, at Rick Rude, but, you know, I was a kid. So
right.
I learned to appreciate him when he came to the WWE, man. And Rick Rude to me, this is definitely long overdue. You'll never see. He just had a gift, man. When you can wrestle like how he wrestled and be able to talk shit on the mic, that gift, man. Rick, this is long overdue for people that really love wrestling, man. Rick Rude should have been in, and I never thought I'd say this, but I hope they hurry up and put Demolition in. I think they deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, definitely,
you know,
definitely.
And for them not to even be mentioned yet, that's a travesty. Because you got people like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get the George Animal Steels, and you know, you put fucking Beth Phoenix in the Hall of Fame, and Demolition were imitators that were expected to fail, and they succeeded.
Right.
And I wasn't a Demolition fan. I'm always gonna be a Road Warrior fan, but you know, even though, you know, Road Warrior Animal be on some bullshit, you know, with that Trump shit.
Right.
That's a whole other story. But there's still my favorite tag team, you know. Jake Roberts, favorite wrestler, Road Warriors, favorite tag team. But Demolition deserved to be in the Hall of Fame, man. I hope we get a chance to see them get inducted, you know, this year. They deserve that shit.
Yeah. But I'm glad Rick Rude's getting in. He's definitely a unique guy, and like I said, he was so good that he didn't even need a title. He was just the man.
He didn't need a belt.
And
yep.
He had them airbrush tights all the time.
Man, look. Rick Rude was funny, dude. Rick Rude was fucking funny.
Man.
Former world class champion. Numerous time United States champion. I think he was WCW champion too, wasn't he?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Rude he did it all. He did it all, man. And he was Intercontinental champion when the Intercontinental Championship really meant something. Yeah. You know, at one time, believe it or not, the Intercontinental Championship was really to us purists more valuable than the world championship. Because Hogan held on to the title for so long, we didn't give a fuck about that. We cared about who was going to win the Intercontinental Championship.
That was like the workhorse.
Was it gonna be Tito Santana this week or Greg Valentine, or was it gonna be, Ricky Steamboat? Still to this day, Ricky Steamboat losing to the Honky Tonk Man is a fucking travesty.
Right.
Oh my God. And arguably, the Honky Tonk Man is the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. Still to this day, he holds the record as the longest champion.
Right.
So, yeah, man. Yeah, Rick Rude was that guy, man. Good for him.
Right. All right, that's about it for this week's Fresh is the Word podcast. V-Styles, tell them where they can find you online.
Well, you can hit me on the Twitter with the / with the VSTYLEZ. Same thing with the Instagram and the Facebook. My official page on Facebook is / official V-Styles. I answer, all statements, questions. Hit me up. But remember, always be respectful. Thornton Melon coming soon. Stay tuned.
Thanks again. Thanks for listening. See you next week, hopefully. All right, bye.
Fresh is the word.